Webcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so what are we going to do in this webinar? We're going to go through some of the basics here, just some of the resources at bookmap.com. Social media, where you can find more information about Bookmap. And then we're going to jump into the software and start to identify what all the components are. So those of you who are new here get a good understanding of what these components are, and then we're going to start to read some of the basics in the order flow. Okay, so at bookmap.com, when you subscribe to the software, it comes with education. There is a 4-part educational course, and we back up all of that educational course material in the advanced order flow live webinars, where we analyze the markets. They start at 11 Eastern, just immediately following this webinar here. And we'll take a look at the more advanced concepts in the order flow and start to understand what Bookmap is showing us, how to use it, take advantage of it, and then anticipate future price movement based on what we see in the analysis. Okay, so let's jump over to bookmap.com and let's go through it quickly here. Scroll down, there's an intro video here, information about Bookmap. A Bookmap for US equities, I'll talk about that in just a second, and connectivity. So we'll stop right here and let me define what Bookmap is. It's a visualization software trading platform. Okay, so we are a true platform, and you can see that there's some other data or platforms up here as well, like NinjaTrader, TTX Trader Pro, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. Now, these 3 platforms, we connect to them via the API. However, we are a platform just as they are. So we recommend connecting directly with CQG, Rhythmic, Gain, IQ Feed, Transact, and Dev Experts. Now, this Dev Experts is for NASDAQ Total View. So let's scroll back up and I'll just go over this Bookmap for equities. That's what it covers. Okay, so great data feed, low latency, and full depth of market, which is a really nice advantage. All right, so yeah, we're a software trading platform. We are not a data provider. So for futures and for US equities, you will need to provide it. Now, for the digital currencies, for those of you interested in trading cryptocurrencies, we offer a free connection. We subsidize that connection for you. So it's for the GDAX exchange. All right. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit further. This is where you can find out about some of the pricing and the different subscription packages that are available. So you can subscribe yearly for with a 20% discount, or subscribe monthly here. You have that flexibility, and you'll see there's the digital and global versions here, and then distinctions between the two as well with the plus. Okay, so the digital version, it's free. It's a live connection to the GDAX exchange for the digital currency. You only get one digital currency at a time. Okay, you cannot record it. And you only get basic education and support. Now, the Digital Plus version, you can trade right from the Bookmap chart, which is a great advantage I'll cover in just a second. Right into the GDAX exchange, you can record and replay your data, and you get up to 20 different currencies that you can access. You also get access to the advanced education. Okay, so that is the 4-part educational course we put together, as well as the advanced order flow webinars. All right, now the global version, what that means is global means it will connect to basically anything. So for the futures markets, as well as the US equities, and of course the digital currencies. All right, so up to 10 different platforms are supported, or data feeds. And allows that connectivity for futures and for US equities. Of course, you get the advanced education and full support. The Global Plus version, the only difference here includes everything else, but you get this cache of add-on indicators that we put together. So you can trade right from the Bookmap chart, which is a great advantage because you have the liquidity heat map in front of you. So you can manage your trades and your entries and exits very precisely because you have that heat map. So you can front run high liquidity or hide your stops behind high liquidity. And then our indicators, proprietary indicators we put together, start to identify not only phenomena in the order flow, but specific players. So our large lot tracker, we start to identify the larger players in the market. Okay, there's some balance indicators, and then the iceberg detector. So again, looking for specific players using hidden orders, icebergs, and we can identify those. And then a correlation tracker. All right, well, let's jump over to social media, and you can see here all sorts of good information. Just scroll down through interviews with other traders, videos, order flow, video snippets to go through. So you can follow us at bookmap_pro. And then let's get to our YouTube page where you can subscribe to this. And there's some different playlists here. So for example, those of you who are new might want to watch some of the intro playlists or videos here, features and component videos here, and then order flow video snippets. Now these order flow video snippets go through order flow phenomena that Bookmap can visualize, okay, that you can't really see with other software platforms. So they're very concise and short, but they go through them very specific phenomena that Bookmap uncovers. So if you're new or doesn't matter, I still think these have quite a bit of value. So give it a shot and watch some of these, and as many as you can. Okay. All right, that's that. Now let's get to Bookmap. All right, so here's the Bookmap interface, and we're looking at the S&P E-mini here. Okay, and just go through some of the components here, what you're looking at. Now we have some indicators, and we have also an indicator subpanel, which is our cumulative volume delta. I'm going to close that up, and also this VWAP indicator here. I'm going to turn that off as well. Okay, and now we have a very simplified view of Bookmap here. For those of you looking at this may think that it's not so simple. It actually is. There's only 3 elements on this chart, and we're giving a very clear and objective view of the overall market. It's a complete view here. So the 3 elements on this chart: historical best bid and offer, and I'll explain why that's an advantage. And the volume dots here, or bubbles, they trade on that historical best bid and offer. So these are transactions. And then you see this heat map here, the orange, yellow, white, blue, and then all the way down to black. It is showing you areas of high liquidity. Okay, all it is it takes the numeric values here from the current market in the DOM, and we paint that into a heat map, and then we transpose that onto the chart historically. Okay, that's it. So those are the 3 elements. There's no indicator here. It's not an indicator. This is the market. Okay, a very, very objective view of that market. So let me explain a little bit more in some of the advantages here, and we're going to look at a view that we're all familiar with, and that is the candlestick chart. Okay. All right. So here's a 5-minute candlestick chart. Okay. It represents open, high, low, and close of a 5-minute period. Okay. The problem is with the candlestick chart here is we want to understand what happened within that 5-minute period, and we just don't have any access to it here. And this is very typical. Like we look to perhaps indicators to give us some sort of insight to what happened here. Okay. It's an aggregated period of data within that 5-minute period. And that's really the problem here, okay? Because we want to understand what happened inside, where the volume traded precisely, and what that auction looked like. And a very simple way of showing microstructure and some of the action that happened with inside that candlestick is just by showing the historical best bid and offer. Okay, very, very simple. And that's it. So now we can zoom into some of these areas. Okay, and let's zoom into, and why don't we zoom into kind of current area here? And we can see that although the candlestick chart is showing us different things here, like some buying pressure here, okay, well, the microstructure is showing us something different. Okay, it's showing weakness here. Okay, and why is that? Okay, well, here's a move to the high side here, right? And this structure up above here, it broke. Okay, I can draw a line in here, or we can just use the crosshairs. This is the structure I'm talking about. From this little area here, we get a little bit of a bounce, and now we break down below. Okay, it made a new low below the swing down here. Okay, we get a pullback back up into the range, but where does it go? It goes to where it broke from over here. Okay, this is bearish. Okay, it cannot make a new high. It's starting to test lower areas, but it did not accept. It did come back. Okay, it's showing some bearish activity. Okay, and you can see that we get some follow through here to the downside. All right, so that's showing the microstructure. And what I mean by microstructure, okay, is these little areas of consolidation and then these moves and sweeps up above. Okay, a book sweep. And I'll talk a little bit more about a book sweep in just a few minutes here. So anyway, that's a historical best bid and offer. And now it's not consolidated data. Okay, it's really what happened blow by blow here through the market. Okay, now let's turn on the volume dots. Okay, now what we're looking at here, and let me bring up the size a little bit. We're looking at the transactions that took place on that historical best bid and offer. Okay, and then let's just zoom into this area here, and that book sweep that I talked about right here. Well, this is a good example of it. Okay, and we can see actually structure within structure here that retest back up into this area here that I mentioned earlier. Well, you can see this big cluster of volume, and we can't trade above it. Okay, good insight there. And then here's the book sweep that I talked about. Okay, let's zoom in. Oops, sorry. Let's zoom into this area here. Okay, and this is it. Okay, it's the aggressor here. Okay, what the volume dots are showing very simply is, well, let's zoom in a little bit closer here, and I'll show you. Okay, and bring up the size here. All right, so the best offer or best ask is the red line. The best bid is the green line. Okay, that's it. We've already covered that one. Now, the transactions that took place. This green dot here is a market buy. Okay, it's the aggressor. They crossed the spread. They took liquidity. They didn't provide it. They took liquidity off of the best offer. And this is aggressive market sell. They took liquidity off of the best bid. Now, this dot here, and you can see the size of it. It's all graphical. It represents a lot of trading. All right. There's lots of transactions here, and we can see that the overall color here, a little bit more selling than there was buying. And that's what unfolded here. This one over here, this pie display is showing a lot more selling compared to buying. Now, we can hover over these dots and we can get precise values. Okay, we get very precise date and time, okay, down to nanosecond if you want. And then we have the liquidity here on the ask, which was 39 contracts at 68.50, and then the volume was 45. Okay, now that constitutes the overall volume for this all of these transactions. Okay, but we're going to zoom in a little closer, and we're going to start to pull apart all of this trade activity, and we're going to see precisely what occurred here. Okay, and you can see there are many trades within trades here. Okay, so this is for a volume of 2, and then this is for another volume of 2 right here, aggressive buying. Okay, so that's really what occurred, and we're down at microsecond level. We can continue to zoom in and get down into nanosecond level. Okay, very, very precisely recorded. Every single transaction, not aggregated data. Okay, now as I zoom back out though, Okay, we we don't trade at those levels. It drive you crazy. We're looking here at the overall, and it is an aggregated view, but just graphically. All of that data is still here. We can zoom right back in. Okay, so anyway, that's what you're looking at in terms of the volume. Okay, and then that book sweep that I mentioned. Let's zoom back out. I'm sorry. Okay, well, it's over here. Okay, and this is now there's some selling in here too. Okay, but the majority by far is aggressive buying. And what happened here? Why did price move up so quickly? Well, it's because someone lifted the offer. They came in with some size, and they took all of the liquidity at this one price level here, and it moved price up one. The best ask went to the next level, and they swept that area too. Okay, and they continued to buy again. They take all of the liquidity, all the sellers that were there. They took everything that they were offering, and we move another price level. This is how we move in all markets. Okay? And this is a microcosm of that view. Now, this is a microstructural view of this book sweep here. And it took a number of seconds here, 38 to 44, so about 6 seconds. Okay, but you can see it really kind of, there was a little bit of a pause here, and then they really stepped in. Okay, so very critical to understand book sweeps, and we want to understand acceptance and rejection above these areas here. All right, so anyway, well, let's add the third element on to the Bookmap chart, and that is the heat map. And here we go. Now, and let's just make this a little bit easier to read. And let's go to the current market, and we'll turn off the candlesticks too. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, the liquidity heat map is derived all from the limit order book. Okay, so everything to the right of this vertical white line here is the current market. Okay, we have the current best bid and offer right here, and we have the last traded volume is right here. Okay, here's our price ladder, and then here's our dome. Okay, the COB column, current order book. And you can see the liquidity here. These are contracts at these specific price levels. Okay, these are sellers that want to sell at these levels, and these are buyers down here. This is the current auction. Okay, and it gives us a lot of insight. We know that at 75 right here, there's 600 contracts. Okay, pretty high, is the highest in the book right now at the moment. Okay, in this view. Okay, so if the buyers want liquidity and they're interested, they can find it up here. A lot of it. Okay, and that's what the dome it's showing us, this overall kind of slant here of the depth of market. Okay, in the auction. So now in this window here, we take these numeric values and then we turn that into a heat map. So areas of high liquidity are going to get, they're going to be orange in this view. Less is going to be yellow, and then white, and then blue, and then black. Okay, and the scale is up here if you want to take a look. All right, now we have a complete view of the market because we take this data and we transpose it onto that chart historically. Okay, so what we're looking at here is understanding the aggressor here and the liquidity that's in that market. And now we can start to judge and understand and get a feel for the overall auction of what's going on here. Look at the buyers coming up here. Now this is the 1, 2, 3, 4th attempt to come up. If they want it, they need to sweep the book up into 75 here. Okay, and they're not though. They exhausted out here, here, and then just here a little bit of trading. See the green dots up here? There's very little that traded up here. Okay? Most of it is trading down here. Okay, this gives us kind of an overall feel and understanding. Well, they're really not too interested in trading up to 75. Okay, I'm looking for sellers to come in, and where am I looking for them to push it? Well, originally down here at 72.5, and maybe we can get down to 71.5 because that's where the high liquidity is. Okay. So you can see and you can judge and you can put together the context of what's going on here in the order flow. Okay, not just the traded volume, the complete picture, the auction. In fact, a view that might be helpful for a lot of you who are new to understanding liquidity is to just take the volume dots off. Okay, and let's just understand what's going on in the auction. Okay, the buyers versus the sellers versus the buyers. Okay, now here's how this unfolded. Now look at that skew in the book right here. See how they came in with very high liquidity here, and now they're pulling up above at 75. Okay, so this was kind of like a trap here. Okay, and someone came in here and showed high liquidity, right? And they pulled up here instead. So it's very easy now to sweep the book higher, and you can see the reaction here to or price to that high liquidity. Now look at these guys down here; they just pulled. Okay, so looking for it to come back down now. Okay, and if they're jumping back in here at 75, then again it's that same game here. So a little bit of game playing going on here, and then look at this guy just jump right back in now. Okay, and they pulled up here. Okay, so 76 is the next target. Okay, now I know this is kind of jumpy here, but nonetheless, like this is holding true. Now, how to read this in context though and put it all together? Well, let's turn that volume back on and add that piece together here. Okay, all right. So here was that reaction. Okay, to that high liquidity, and actually they started to buy beforehand, and they just a little bit of a bump here in that liquidity, and then they pull up here. Okay, and then they start to pull down here, and they also added back in. So you can see that this is pretty back and forth here. Okay, and if you start to notice this kind of behavior, okay, and it's not giving you a clear signal, okay, then it's telling you something like maybe you want to stay out for now, okay, until we get a clear understanding, because we were right on both occasions here, that understanding that, okay, well, here's the reaction to high liquidity, and here's the reaction again, okay, and they're pulling, right? So I'm looking for I was looking for it to test down here, okay, and then I was looking for it to test up here. And it's just there wasn't too much clarity on reading this here, so it at least from my point of view here is telling me to back off. Okay, be careful here, right? Because we'll see when it becomes much more clear, right? And this is some kind of stop runs to one side, bash it to the other side of that range. And then what we want to look for, though, is the overall. Okay, who's in control? Okay, and understand these areas with clarity. And if we don't have that clarity, then well, maybe you did in some other way. Maybe you're looking at a candlestick pattern. Maybe you're looking at volume profile. Okay, it doesn't matter. Look to the book, understand the auction, and understand the volume at these areas for further clarification of the way you trade. Okay, they're still doing the same thing here. Okay, I mean, look at the volume that swept this book lower, right back down into this 73.5. Okay, and then they're right back in though. Okay, so you can see a battle is kind of shaping up on both sides here. We're looking for the victor in this battle. Okay, and let's zoom out now. What I'm able to do here using Bookmap is not just look at this current market and the dome in the current market. Okay, because a dome does that pretty nicely. It shows you that current market view pretty nicely. Okay? But if I zoom out now, you can see everything that occurred in this market. So we have a historical view of that depth of market. Okay, so for example, bigger picture now. Well, if we can get some more buyers here, okay, we got to get through 76, okay? But then high of the day here for this cash session is up here at 78. Okay, on the downside, and we can adjust our heat map a bit to understand some of this high liquidity a little bit better. Okay, so clearly they're up here at 78. Okay, right above the swing here at the open. Okay, and on the bid side, they're down here at 73, and then they're down here at 70. And you'll note these areas here too. Look how they're larger players are willing to provide liquidity just below the swing here, okay, or just above the swing up here. Okay? This is why you get stop runs up into these areas. The larger players are willing to provide that liquidity, and as the traders are getting stopped out, they're on the other side of that trade. Okay. Anyway, that's a bunch of different things to consider. We went over the book sweeps. We went over starting to read the current market here and seeing a little bit of kind of back and forth and volatility here, and trying to kind of assess and shape up. So what exactly is going on? And right now, no real insight really. The areas of high liquidity, sellers are up here. The buyers are down at, well, they keep pulling. So it looks better for even 70 down here. And now, for those of you looking at maybe volume profile, you can see the distribution here, okay, for this cash session. Okay, and we're right in the middle of it right here. Okay, our POC is right here at 73 3/4. All right, so price has been kind of bashing around back and forth here. All right, and pretty ugly profile. You can see that one big distribution here and then a kind of a smaller one down here. Right, now that's going to add up pretty nicely here. You can see there's going to be a low volume node right in this area here, and there is. And the other one is down here, and that's not so clear. But anyway, that's what you're looking at in Bookmap, and that's some of the basics, how to start to read the auction, okay, and the aggressor, okay, and their appetite for trading. Okay. So look how we came up into 76, and look how they started to pull up here. Okay, so what does this mean up here? It just means that they're really not too interested. If they were interested, they're going to stay in the book. Okay? And why would they? Because it's a first in, first out market. They don't want to give up their position in line if it's real liquidity. Okay, and they're really not showing intent up here. Okay, and the guy up here or traders up here at 78, well, they're staying in the book, but we really need to understand if they mean to trade when we come up into that area, and we'll see if they stay in the book or not. Okay. And I guess we'll need to wrap it up here, but last week in several of the webinars, we identified the difference here between real and fake liquidity. And that fake liquidity that maybe just skews the auction and price has a reaction to it, okay, versus that real liquidity that stays in the book and actually trades. Okay, and we'll make that distinction later. Okay, no real good examples here at the moment. Better examples actually of skewing of the book here. Okay, here they come back in at 72. Anyway, let's wrap it up. If you guys are signed up for the advanced order flow webinars, we'll catch up with you over there in just a minute. Thanks for coming.